Today, I'll be using MMA math to predict the winner of the main event of UFC Fight Night Moreno vs Albazi. We all know that MMA math is a notoriously bad predictor of the results of fights, but I wanted to test this notion over a period of time, and in today's episode we'll be looking at the flyweights with the former two-time champion Brandon Moreno up against surgeon Iraqi contender Amir Albazi. The MMA math predictor is currently sitting at 1-0. This could very well change soon after UFC 308 though, which is set to take place this weekend, so make sure you also check out the predictions for that card. I'm currently working on a revision of the rules of this model, so if you have any suggestions, please chuck them down in the comments below as it will be set for the next episode. But in case you are new to the series, here are the current rules for the MMA math prediction model. A fighter will get points for every victory relative to their opponent's UFC ranking. So beating a champion will get you 16 points, beating ranked 1 will get you 15, beating ranked 2 14, and so forth. Losing a fight nets you -2 points, and getting finished yourself nets you -3. You get an extra 5 points if you beat someone who your opponent has lost to in this 5-fight stretch. If your opponent has avenged that loss, you only get 1 point. You get an extra 5 points for a KO, TKO, or submission, and an extra point for a streak of finishes correlative to the length of the streak. For example, if you had a 3-fight win and finish streak, you'll get 15 points base for these finishes and an extra 3 for the length of the streak, making it 18 points. Doctor's stoppages will be judged on a case-by-case basis, and an extra 5 points if 2 or more of the judges give you every round in a decision victory. If you are over 35, you lose 5 points, and an extra point on top of that for each year older than 35 you are. If you are undefeated in the UFC, you gain an extra 5 points. If you have a loss in the UFC but are undefeated in your last 5, you get 3 points. For the fight we are predicting, if you are fighting in your country of origin and your opponent is not from that same country, you get a cheeky dodgy judge bonus of an extra 5 points. This does not apply to the United States and their fighters. Okay, so let's jump into it with the number 3 ranked flyweight contender Amir Albazi. Amir will start with 3 points as he is undefeated in the UFC. 5 fights ago for Amir takes us to the 18th of July 2020 for UFC Fight Night Figueiredo vs Benavidez 2, where in his UFC debut, Amir will be put up against unranked Malcolm Gordon, who was also making his UFC debut. Amir will prove too strong for Gordon, working his way into a triangle choke, finishing him 4 minutes and 42 seconds into the first, earning 5.5 points. 4 fights ago takes us to the 23rd of January 2021 for UFC 257 Poirier vs McGregor 2, where Amir would take on unranked Zhalgas Zhumagulov. In a back and forth, Amir would rely on his dominant grappling to squeeze out a 29-28 on all scorecards' unanimous decision victory, earning himself 0.5 points. 3 fights ago for Amir takes us to the 20th of August 2022 for UFC 278 Usman vs Edwards 2, where now ranked 11th, Amir will be taking on unranked Francisco Figueiredo. In an excellent display of Amir's grappling, he would catch Figueiredo in a rear naked choke 4 minutes and 34 seconds into the first, gaining him 5.5 points for the victory. 2 fights ago for Amir takes us to the 12th of December 2022 for UFC Fight Night Cannonier vs Strickland. Where now ranked 8th, Amir will still not get a ranked opponent, taking on unranked Alessandro Costa making his UFC debut. Amir again would show off his dominant grappling in the first 2 rounds, but he would also get a chance to show off the power in his hands, landing a beautiful uppercut on Costa and finishing him with ground strikes 2 minutes and 13 seconds into the 3rd round, gaining Amir another 5.5 points as well as an extra 2 as this is where his finish streak will end. Amir's last fight takes us to the 17th of December 2022 for the main event of UFC Fight Night Kai Kara-France vs Albazi. Amir, now ranked 7th, will go from never facing a UFC ranked opponent to main eventing a card against 3rd ranked contender Kai Kara-France. In a controversial split decision victory that many, including myself, believed should have gone to Kai, Amir would lean on his wrestling to gain 13 points. We will now look at the former champion and number 2 ranked flyweight, Brandon Moreno. 5 fights to go for Brandon takes us to the 22nd of January 2022 for the co-main event of UFC 270 Ngannou vs Gane, where Moreno, who is the current champion, would defend his belt in the trilogy fight against Deiveson Figueiredo. This highly anticipated rematch lived up to the hype, with both fighters having their moments, but ultimately Figueiredo would have the bigger moments and scrape out a 48-47 on all judges' scorecards for a unanimous decision victory. Unfortunately, Moreno would lose the flyweight title and will lose 2 points for his loss. 4 fights to go takes us to the 30th of July 2022 for the co-main event of UFC 277 Peña vs Nunes 2, where Moreno would take on number 2 ranked Kai Kara France for the interim title. In a rematch from a matchup that took place 3 years prior, which Moreno won, Kai would have moments of success in this rematch, but it would ultimately be Moreno who would pick up the victory again with a beautiful liver kick 4 minutes and 34 seconds into the third, winning the interim title and gaining 19 points for the victory. 3 fights to go for Moreno takes us to the 21st of January 2023 for the co-main event of UFC 283 Teixeira vs Hill, where Moreno will be looking to unify the flyweight championships against Deiveson Figueiredo in their 4th fight. After taking the first 2 rounds, Moreno would catch Figueiredo with a looping left hand, shutting his eye. Doctors would not allow Figueiredo to enter the 4th round, earning Moreno a TKO via doctor's stoppage. Now in the rules, we've said that we would look at doctor stoppages on a case-by-case basis. And looking at the footage, it's clear that the injury that caused the doctor's stoppage was caused by an intentional and legal strike by Moreno, so we'll give him the 5 points for the stoppage, on top of the 16 points base, and an extra 2 points as this is where his finish streak will end. 2 fights to go for Moreno takes us to the 8th of July 2023 for the co-main event of UFC 290 Volkanovski vs Rodriguez, where Moreno would defend his flyweight title against second-ranked Alexandre Pantoja. In a classic question of what do the judges prioritize more in scoring, Moreno would have vast success on the feet, landing clean shots, while Pantoja would have more control through takedowns and grappling. Ultimately, Pantoja would be given the split decision victory. Moreno would lose his flyweight title and 2 points for the loss. Moreno's last fight takes us to the 24th of February 2024 for UFC Fight Night Moreno vs Royval 2, where Moreno would be put up against number 3 ranked Brandon Royval. In another extremely close fight, Royval's volume would give Moreno another split decision loss, losing him another 2 points. So there we have it. MMA Math predicts Brandon Moreno to beat Amir Albazi by a mere 1 point. Ultimately, it would be Amir's lack of ranked competition that would cost him this prediction, and 2 split decision losses that would make this prediction anywhere close for Moreno. If one judge gave Moreno 1 more round in any of his last 2 fights, he would win this prediction by a clear margin. Let me know if you guys agree with the MMA Maths prediction. I personally think it's onto something. Amir simply just hasn't been tested against quality opponents, apart from Kai Kara France, which he arguably lost. But I'm always interested in hearing your guys' breakdown of the fight. Make sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up with the MMA Math prediction series, as well as other combat sports content, and as always, have a great day.